So I did mention it in passing, and then I went, you know what, I better watch it before I come back on and do mid-season check-in, because I was taken with the title. I just went, it has to be peak isekai, and it is Reborn as a vending machine.
Oh, yes.
I now wander the dungeon.
Yes.
And like, I don't think we gave this enough airtime. I think I just
we
went,
did.
there's the vending machine one. And everyone would be like, you can't just brush past that. Like,
Well, hello, and welcome back to Gateway to Anime. How are you all? What's going on? We are the podcast where we try and throw the gate open to all and anyone who wants to come into anime, whether you're a new fan, an old fan looking to get back into it, or just someone who wants to talk about anime. We are here to simply enjoy the thing that we love most, which is, of course, anime. Charlie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm pretty good. At the time of airing, we've recorded a double episode in this great studio. We went on about how good this studio was in the last episode we did, but I think this one's airing before. So for those who are watching, welcome to our new studio.
Yes, indeed. It turns out that I work at a podcast production company and
He never knew. Weird.
Commandeering the
Bizarre.
studio after hours. What a good time. I know, very generously they've allowed me to use it. It looks pretty cool. So get used to it, folks. We're leveling up. So, a very good time. We're very happy to be in such an awesome space. And Graham, how are you feeling to be in such a space?
I'm settled.
Settled now.
Settled now, yeah. I'm used to the bright lights and, you know.
The comfy couch.
The colours,
Yeah,
the couches.
It's good. It's cozy. I love it.
It is very nice.
There's no going back, Sam.
But
You've
that
ruined us.
sweet taste.
How can we go back after seeing this Lights of Paris, or whatever that saying is?
Absolutely. Well, today we are doing our annual mid-season check-in. So obviously it is summer 2023 season. We are the midpoint, or just about, probably a little bit over the midpoint actually. But it's our time to check in, talk about what we've been watching, what we're liking, what we're not liking. Of course, you would have heard our hype up a little while ago. Well, if you haven't, you can check it out. We did a little hype up of this season. But, you know, when we do those episodes, sometimes we've not even watched the first episode. We've just read a synopsis, or we've only watched one episode. So sometimes we're horribly wrong. So we like to do these episodes to come back in and be like, hey, we were wrong, or we were right, or I didn't even hear about this show until later. Now I'm watching it and it's amazing. So who wants to start off with what you've been watching? Of course, there are some big ones. There are some huge, massive ones, in fact. Obviously, everyone's watching JuJustu Kaisen. Now, JuJustu Kaisen, at the time of recording this, has just finished, well, not just, it's finished a couple of weeks ago, its first little arc, the Hidden Inventory arc, and we're about to head into the Shibuya arc, which from all accounts, Graham, obviously being a manga reader, knows to be one of the peak arcs of JuJustu Kaisen. Now, what did you all think of Hidden Inventory?
I thought it was good. I liked it. It didn't blow me away like I wanted it to blow me away, but I'm so happy to have JuJustu Kaisen back. Beautifully animated, very cool sequences. Obviously, we got backstory for Gojo, which is never a bad thing. I was happy with it, and I'm just viewing it as like its own little kind of intro thing, and I'm excited to see what the next arc brings. But it definitely didn't disappoint. But I just wasn't as taken with it as I had been in the past, maybe.
I think this next arc will probably do it for us, you know what I mean?
So,
This is
yeah.
very much, it was a 5-episode little like mini thing. What are your thoughts, Graham, as a manga reader?
As a manga reader,
Well, as someone who's actually read the source material.
yeah, look, I really liked that they changed up the directors. I know there was a lot of umming and ahhing about the animation style, but I thought it was fresh. I feel like it had a bit more of a cinematic kind of quality to it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think I've been very vocal about my opinions on the manga. I think it elevates the source material, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Now, Graham, you and I talk about the big of, you know, we've talked about this before, but the big 3 OG Bleach is back again for the second part of the 1,000 Year Blood War.
Just hook it to my veins.
Take it away.
Every time it finishes, I'm like, it's one of those few shows where I'm like, oh god, there's a week. Mm-hmm. There's a week I have to wait for the next hit. I guess is the term. Like, I love it. Yeah. It's hitting nostalgia. Anyway.
Yeah, Bleach is absolutely killing it. And for those of you who aren't aware, of course, you've been living under a rock or it's your first episode into us. Basically, Bleach is one of the big three, one of the great big shonen cornerstones of the genre. Of course, the battle shonen. It's been redone because the last arc was never animated. It's being animated now. This is the second part of it. And my God, does it look absolutely outstanding. I cannot believe how good it is. Every episode is so hype. The soundtrack is out of control. It's incredible. Have you been watching it at all, Charlie?
No, because I'm not up to date with it yet. Like, I started re-watching it with my partner and we watched up to the Soul Society retrieval arc.
Best arc.
Sorry, I combined two. The retrieval arc is the Sasuke retrieval
Sas-
arc. I didn't
It's the
mean
same
that.
thing.
It's the same shit. The Rukia's retrieval arc.
That'll work.
Set in Soul Society. And I've been waiting to kind of get through it and then watch this. And I know I'm missing out on so much. And I know I should take my elder weeb card out of my hand and throw it up and throw it into a fire. Get out of here. But I've also just been busy, getting on board with some of the newer stuff, which I think is really fun. And one thing I'll say is that I usually have a tendency to get caught in a nostalgia trap, which is not bad. I go, well, the older stuff was better. Like back in my day,
Come here,
it
kid.
was
Let me
better.
tell you about the old days.
Gather round, children. Let me explain.
But because we've been doing episodes like this, I've had to kind of watch new anime and get on board with things. And it's one of those things where I worry sometimes, like, if you're living too much in the past, then you're going to miss, like, the classics that happen in your own time.
We did do an episode about nostalgia and anime not long ago, which you can check out, where we talked about this exact problem. But yes, please.
Yeah, but I think it's different with Bleach because obviously they're just finishing the arc. They're animating the end of it, which is so exciting. And I will get there and I'll be like, you know what? Sucks. New anime. Get out of here. Bring me the old stuff. Thank you. That's what I'll be into. But I really, really think that Battle Shonen's great. Tick, tick, tick. JuJustu Kaisen, Bleach, obviously spoiled for choice. This season, actually, they're the only two, so you're not really spoiled for choice. You've got two options.
Two
all
awesome
you got.
options.
So there's that. And is there another shonen out this year? I guess so. Does the
Mushoku Tensei, but we're
count?
not talking about that shit on this podcast. We hate it.
Oh, wow.
Graham's watched it.
Never, I
but
guess.
Are you watching the new season?
No, I think I watched the first 3 episodes and I was like, nah. It's just too problematic.
Mushoku Tensei, again, for those of you who aren't aware, is one of the seminal isekai classics. And if you want to learn about isekai, there's a YouTube video that we did, a video essay, where we talk exclusively about the history of isekai. But of course, being transported to another world, video games, fantasy lands, whatever. Mushoku Tensei is one of the cornerstones of the genre, but it is so insanely problematic. And I literally couldn't get through the first 3 episodes of the first season because it's just so fucked. And it's one of the reasons we started this podcast, to avoid these traps, right? And Mushoku Tensei is one of those traps because it looks amazing.
Stunning.
The world building is fantastic. There are so many good elements, but then there's just these really fucked, whack, problematic issues, which I don't even want to go into because I don't want to give it the airtime.
And it's all the protagonist as well.
The protagonist is
He's just a
a
garbage
horrible human being. Like,
Yeah.
who's like a
And every time you think, oh, he's gonna grow as a character and change his ways and blah, blah, and it just doesn't.
I don't
So what's the
understand how
point?
people are so into it. And it's huge. It's also huge. Like, it is one of the most popular animes that's airing right now. People will defend it till the cows come home. I don't want to get into the muck of this, but look, we're not going to talk about it on the show because none of us like it.
And we didn't watch it, so we can't really comment on it either.
So we're done.
So, yeah.
Anyway.
What have you been watching, though? What did we talk about in the last one? Because I mentioned a couple of things in passing. We talked about Zom 100, which has been continued to deliver.
So good.
And it's been a huge success, not just in anime, but there's a Netflix live action series of Zom 100 as well, which has just started airing. So if you don't like anime, you can watch the live action. It's literally on Netflix right now.
I've heard mixed things about that.
Okay, well, there you go. I mean, it's not anime, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, how does that
The superior
translate?
art form.
I haven't actually
Spoilers
watched
on I think it was last episode or the episode before. There's a giant zombie shark. Is there a giant live action zombie shark?
I hope so.
I got
One would have to assume, right?
Because that was amazing.
Oh, it was fantastic.
We've had Sharknado. It can't be that far out of the realm. You know?
Yeah, you know
Look, Zom
what?
100 is great. It's got some, it sometimes straddles the line of being super weird and lots of fart jokes and stuff. But you know what? It's not dissimilar to Zombieland.
Yeah.
Doesn't
take itself too
It's
seriously.
just irreverent. It's a bit silly. The color palette's extraordinary.
Oh.
It looks $1 million. Well, mostly, I mean, the first episode looked the best. Obviously, they put a lot of the budget into that.
Yeah.
Doesn't look quite as good since, but it still looks good enough. It's not all pure Sakuga, but I'm not a Sakuga guy, so whatever. Sakuga, of course, meaning elevated art style. But for me, I'm kind of like, I think it's fantastic. It's fun. It's irreverent. It's a bit silly. It's a bit dumb. What do you think?
Oh, I really liked it. Yeah, it's good. I have only seen 3 episodes of it, though. I need to catch up.
Oh, did I spoil the zombie shark?
Yeah, but you know what? That's okay.
Sorry.
I'm all right with that. I will get there, and I think I would still be as taken with a zombie shark as I would have been by surprise. You know, it's already, in fact, it's spurring me on to watch more. I did like it. I felt like maybe it was a bit of a one-trick pony continuously happening. I know, but fair. I will watch it. And I think it just looks good enough and is fast-paced and got that kind of irreverent anime fun that I do like in a series.
The zombie shark is filled with zombie divers.
Yeah, it's not a zombie
whose legs
shark.
have popped out of the bottom
Incredible.
of it.
And walks
who
around.
are walking around trying to be zombies. Basically, is like the legs of the zombie shark. I'm sorry. Human genius at play.
No, I mean, that's the best idea I've ever heard
It's
in my
ridiculous.
life.
It's that's Zom 100 for those of you in a nutshell who haven't watched it. Absolutely outstanding. Loving it. Now, what's some of the newer stuff you've been watching? Some of the less...
So I did mention it in passing and then I went, you know what, I better watch it before I come back on and do mid-season check-in because I was taken with the title. I just went, it has to be peak isekai. And it is Reborn as a vending machine.
Oh, yes.
I now wander the dungeon.
Yes.
And like, I don't think we gave this enough airtime. I think I just went,
did.
there's the vending machine one. And everyone would be like, you can't just brush past that. Like, literally. I'm just going to give a synopsis of this. But a vending machine fanatic meets his demise when he is quite ironically crushed by a vending machine. To his dismay, he finds himself reincarnated as a vending machine in another world, having re-emerged within a forest inhabited by frogmen and other monsters and supplied with only 2 products. Boxo, the vending machine, requires coins to keep itself stocked, powered, and upgraded with new skills. Luckily, the automat is rescued by a young woman who quickly realizes that it is sentient and she carries it to a human settlement. Thereafter, the strange piece of machinery gradually makes an impact in the world around it, gaining numerous allies along the way despite being utterly incapable of speech or movement and communicating only by playing out pre-recorded vending machine phrases. Okay. Yep. This opening sequence, it literally starts with a guy, he's literally in a car, and he sees on the back of a truck a vending machine. And he's like, it's about to swerve out of the way. And he's like, oh no, that beautiful, he literally says that poor vending machine because this guy is a huge vending machine fan.
He loves them.
He's a vending machine guy.
He dies and gets reincarnated his true love, which is a vending machine. But he is stuck in this machine. He cannot speak. He can only use thank you, welcome, and you need to select another product. It's like 4 catchphrases he can say. But he's literally in the middle of nowhere. He's like, and then this frogmen come out and start trying to beat him up. And he's like, Anyway, but what's funny about it is I've never seen, so at first I thought this was just going to be like a dumb thing.
Ever,
And like,
you'd be forgiven for thinking that.
Yeah. But what got me is the amount of lore that is actually thrown onto you. It's like so specific and the like dynamics and the rules of this world and what he can, it's like, you know, it's a classic isekai video game style where it's like it goes into the inner workings and like he can use X amount of points to change his products. Or like he can use magic, but he only can use a barrier, but he leaks points. And the only way to get points back is if he gets paid money, is if people buy his products. But he's alone at the start. He figures this out. He goes in and there's this whole like most of the episode is like quite an intricate lore dump and exposition and all these rules for this world that is surprisingly convoluted for a show about a man that's been reincarnated as a vending machine. Eventually, he meets this young woman who has never seen a vending machine before in her life. It's a different world, and she is dying of thirst, and she decides to try and buy something, and then she does, and she realizes it's sentient, carries it back to a settlement. Together, they take over, and they have a successful business. I think she works at like a failing inn, and the vending machine brings a business boom to the town. And it seems to be like a weird mix of, you know, quite like battle heavy, like in a weird way, there's some battle stuff
vending
there.
Machine.
Yeah, but also like a bit of an economics, like how to make a town work, you know, like that was.
Okay.
So how to make a town work is not economics. Economics 101, how to make a town work.
That is how universities structure their units.
I think that is a good unit to study. But yeah, this show surprised me because it's funny. I do think it gets a bit old pretty quickly, but it's got a lot of heart. And the love that this protagonist has for the art of the vending machine, it's actually it's quite endearing.
Dude. It's so
It's wholesome. It's actually, I mean, look, it's a little bit fan servicey.
Okay.
Because the girl hunter is, you know, drawn it. Like, it's not that bad. I watched like 2 episodes. Yeah, I'll keep going with it, mostly because that just surprised me with the angle it was taking. You know, it really takes itself quite seriously.
What I love is when he does like put a new item in the machine and the villagers come and try it. Like there's these guards that were like, oh, what's this one? Oh, hot soup. And it's just like the best thing they've ever tried because they're from like a medieval pig shit town. Like,
Of course,
like, oh, it's the best thing ever. Like,
And it's like modern Japanese.
Yeah, like a
So
ramen
like there's
vending
things
machine
like where
which
you can like
exists.
turn the thing and it heats up the coffee. So they're like, it's warm. Like it's like this amazing technology.
good.
So he just blows everyone's mind, obviously.
And he's
That's
like,
dope.
oh, these guys, oh, what were these guys like? Oh, they'll love like this bar of chocolate. And it's just like him selecting things. It's wholesome as shit.
It's so wholesome. And he's like, the customer is like really takes himself seriously. It's like, what can I do to like help the customer? And this person just loves being a vending machine. Sometimes I can't believe the sentences I say out loud on this podcast, but there's that one. I give it a watch because only anime could pull off something like this. Watch me
Literally.
say this and then there's a live action. That'll be like a Netflix series. And I'll be like, I
And the
stand.
Oscar goes to
Bryan Cranston as vending machine.
My favorite thing is that when the girl realizes that it's sentient, she's kind of like, you say this for no, and it's like, come again, or like that kind of thing. Like it's cute. It's a cute show. Wholesome.
That sounds pretty good. But I'm going to talk now about a show that was recommended to us by a fan. And thank you very much for your recommendation through our Instagram messages. Now, Charlotte, you've actually watched a bit of it before, but I got this message and read it and I was like,
And we're just immediately upset that I'd watched something that you hadn't.
I mean, that's kind of
That
it.
was it.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Charlotte's like, yeah, I've watched some of that. And I was like,
Pure
I must watch
rage.
it all immediately.
and I did do so. So basically, I smashed the whole thing in like 2 days. It's currently airing. It's the second season of it now. But let me talk about something which technically isn't anime. So this fan recommendation, thank you very much. This is a show called Clink or Time Agents. Now, this is a Donghua series. Now, for those of you who don't know what that means, it is a Chinese animation and originally a Chinese manga, and the word for that is Donghua. Now, this is written by Li Haoling and produced by Lan Studio and Haolina's Animation League, which is a Chinese animation studio based in Shanghai and established in 2013. Its subsidiary animation company Enon operates in Japan and South Korea. And the studio is actually owned by the Chinese streaming service Bilibili, which is kind of like Chinese YouTube. It's a bit more complicated than that. It sort of users submit videos which they can view and add overlaid commentary on, and they can upload videos to it. It's kind of a weird kind of YouTube meets Netflix in a weird way, but in China it's a massive company, like multi-billion
Oh.
company. But what is Click about? It is friends, well, kind of friends, Cheng Xiaoxi and Lu Guang run a business called Time Photo Studio, where they utilize their special powers. Their primary purpose is to relieve their clients of their past regrets. The clients provide a photo, and Cheng uses his ability to travel back in time to the moment the photo was taken and assume the identity of the photographer, but only for 12 hours. He absorbs the person's memories and emotions during the process. But Lu Guang has the ability to keep track of the events in the past from the present. And he basically shares a mental link with Cheng, and together they go about trying to fulfill the client's request without altering the past in any meaningful way. So it's actually sick. Like, this show is really fucking cool. So it's just, yeah, again, that's slightly confusing. It's obviously the abilities are a bit crazy, but like, he basically goes back in time through a photo. He can only travel through a photo, only for 12 hours. But Lu Guang is basically his guide, almost kind of being like, no, don't do that. Don't do this. No, if you do that, you will alter the past. So the things they're requested to do are more like, for example, without spoiling too much, he goes back in time. This guy asks him to go back in time and just simply like play in a basketball game, tell his mum he loves her, and like tell the girl he liked that he liked her. But that's it. And they're like, this one's pretty fucking easy. But then it turns out that night an earthquake happens and kills all of them except for him. And as we said about Sheng, he is in their minds. So he feels the pain and he's like trying to be like, I need to warn people. And Lu Guang's like, no, dude, you can't. All we can do for the client is give them closure, but these people have to die. You can't change that. But he goes and tries to change it. And everyone's like, you know, and he has this traumatic experience where he tries to save the guy's mother. The mother dies with him, basically like under the rubble. It's soul destroying. And this is the thing, it's very much talking about trauma and the fact that they're just doing these sort of semi-innocuous things for clients. But of course, the story evolves. Very much starts off as a story of the week kind of thing, where they kind of get a client, they go back in time, they do the thing. There's conflict, there's drama, and then we move on to the next one. But of course, the A story kicks off about the halfway point Turns out there are other people who have abilities, and I won't spoil what they are, but all of a sudden it becomes a much larger story. And I love this show, okay? So thank you for the recommendation. And again, recommend us stuff on Instagram, y'all. We love it.
Yeah.
You know, hit us up,
awesome.
hit us up all the time. Like, this was such a good recommendation. I am so into this show. I literally watched the first season in a day. And I do that often if I like something. And
How
like,
do you find the time?
I just make the Graham. I
damn
barely
hell.
sleep. God damn it, dude! Like, I was
This
up
is
till
the key.
4 watching that shit.
I mean, I
And
get 15
loved it.
hours a night. I just don't have the time.
Look, Link Click's absolutely yes. Now, how much of it did you watch?
I watched about half of the first season, I think. And I think I was watching it as it was airing the first time
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
So I kind of got into it because I got recommended it. And I think I really love the aesthetic and I love the character
cool.
designs. And I liked the way I kind of love the idea of I'm a real sucker for this. Like, we have like a business, a sort of like detective, like a private detective vibe. You know, like ragtag, like Jessica Jones-esque. Like we don't have much money to keep the lights on,
no
but we've got
money.
this like, you know, I kind of am a bit of a sucker for that trope.
Despite having the most ridiculous ability in the
Yeah, to
world.
travel
Like,
through time.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we get like $10 from it.
so
It's like,
poor.
You're getting traumatized from this, dude. Charge more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good show. I remember being really invested in it. And when I heard there was a season 2, I was happy to hear it. When it first came out, people were fucking obsessed with it.
Yeah,
Just
I
go.
remember seeing it like back, but so I just missed it. It's absolutely outstanding. Again, we're going to do an episode soon, which is going to very prominently feature you two about Manhwa, which is of course South Korean animation. Well, Manhwa actually was the comics, but of course the adaptation of that. But Donghua and China are coming up very fast in the animation world, and this is just the beginning, and there's so many more, which again I haven't really delved into this very much, but the whole Chinese animation world and Donghua is just the tip of the iceberg. And if it's anything like this, hook it to my veins. I'm loving Link Click. We're in the second season at the time of recording. There's been 7 episodes out. I'm absolutely loving it. Link Click season 2. If you haven't watched it, smash the whole thing in a day and a half like I did.
Get rated Donghua.
Everybody Donghua, it's the next one. That's
Change that logo.
Change it, get out of here.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I think, when we do that episode on Webtoon, it's going to be great because I think out of everyone here, I probably read the most manhwa. I read it all the time. I read it every night. The app is dangerous. Webtoon app, the most dangerous app you'll ever download.
Yes,
I
so-
dare you.
I
dare you
can't
to spend all your
find
money.
Good manhwa.
I can.
I
Wow.
can't find stuff that maybe that not that I
You should
can't
need to
find.
compare more notes. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
It depends on what genre you're after.
But I
because
think all the stuff that I look at is kind of samey. It's all reincarnation, or I started at level 1 and.
oh yeah, I mean,
There's some other stuff like I hear the boxer is really good and a few other things and.
honestly, horror thriller, psychological thriller
yeah.
stuff is where it's at. Like
okay.
really, really good stuff happening in that field. Yeah, the power up ones are, you know, secretly I
Every
adore them.
protagonist is pretty much just like copy and paste.
Yeah, and of course, for those of you who aren't necessarily aware, of course, God of High School, Tower of God, these are all manhwa which have been adapted into animes.
Solo leveling.
Solo leveling's coming, which is the big one. Anyway, Charlie, what else have you been watching?
Okay, so I mentioned this because I was really excited for it when we first did this, and it was My Marriage Story.
Oh, yes.
And sorry,
Marriage Story.
Marriage Story is a movie starring Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. That's the wrong
This is
thing.
the
That is the
anime?
wrong thing.
Very different. Very different. This is My Happy Marriage. When I read the synopsis, I was like, it's either going to be really, really great or really, really terrible. It's basically like a retelling of a Cinderella-esque story set in like an alternate historical, like it's like a fantasy kind of version, but very much steeped in kind of like reality. So I'd say it's like, what do you call that? Like historical fiction, but with fantasy.
Done a whole episode on that.
Yes, historical fiction. But all it is this girl who comes from this prominent family, but she's the first daughter. Her mother passes away. Her father remarries. They have a daughter who, it turns out, is gifted with the family line of supernatural ability. And the main protagonist doesn't have it, you know, like doesn't show signs of supernatural ability. So they basically just treat her like a servant. And then they marry her off to the most dangerous sounding, awful military prominent family leader. And it turns out he's actually delightful and treats her very well and is super powerful. And she ends up having a happy life. And I made that sound very, very vague and basic.
Slightly
That's
problematic. Yeah.
the premise. No, it's not. I mean, in a world in which everyone's marrying for family ties, like it's like
Okay.
it's not. It's like you marry into this family so you can have that family support. There's like prominent families. She gets kind of taken off to this one family. Turns out that I think it's very much alluded to that she does have a dormant bloodline power through her mother's side, who comes from a family that is like the most powerful, but she just hasn't displayed it in the right way, so they don't realize. But the cool thing about the show is I was like, I'm loving it. Like I sold that terribly. just watch it. I read the synopsis out last time. I won't do it again. But it's on Netflix, super easy to watch. And I just was pleasantly surprised with how beautifully it's animated and how much you really care about the protagonist's struggles. Like it doesn't take the abuse that she receives from her family. Like it's mostly it starts like mostly psychological kind of stuff. Like it takes it quite seriously and is quite heavy. And I think that's interesting. I think a lot of anime can really brush over that stuff, or it's just like a plot line. Like she's been treated like shit by her family and now she's happy with this guy. It's like actually she does deal with her trauma and she's not super amazing immediately. As soon as she's untrusting, she doesn't know what to do. She has PTSD. She keeps on getting kidnapped. It's a lot of stuff. I really, really like the show. Beautifully animated, well paced, really good characters, a good relationship between these two characters, and also a good amount of drama. A good villain. It's just like ticking all the historical, dramatic, it's like a seinen josei kind of show. I was looking at it, I was like, do people like this show as much as I do? Yeah, it's always
popular.
like number 2 or 3 on Anime Corner.
It's super popular, yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, it beat JuJustu Kaisen.
Anime Corner is also a wild place, which makes no sense. But
but I genuinely think
the
that this
roguish
show,
shit over there. But yeah.
I think it's pretty good. It's not blowing my mind, but I think it's a good show and it's one that I've kept up with this season that I'm kind of enjoying. So yeah, Vending Machine and Cinderella Story.
That sounds like some Charlie picks. Grant, what else are you watching?
I've dipped into a little bit of Fate.
You did it?
Nightstand, whatever
who
the hell
knows?
it's
Fake
called.
Nightstand.
Fake Nightstand.
Probably. Is it a disaster?
It's no, it's not a disaster.
Really?
It's dense because it has got all that sort of Fate,
All the heroes
Michigas.
and fucking nonsense. Yeah.
but it's pretty straightforward Fate. It's still, you get a champion, you fight for a Grail.
Holy Grail Wars.
The whole thing about this sort of one is that it's not the true Grail. That's why it's Fate, Night Fake, whatever it's called.
Oh, it's a fake Grail.
Yeah.
How do they keep coming up with these ideas?
They've done it again.
Fake you sons of bitches.
But yeah, and it's set in America as well, which is quite different.
That is quite different.
Like there's the scene in I think it's the very first episode where like one of the people that's trying to call for summon whatever they're called, the champion.
Yep.
A SWAT team just arrives and just blows him away with like M14s. And he's just like, take that, sorcerer. Like, can't stop a bullet with your
Why has
magic.
no one
Like,
thought
it's
of
just
this
like, it was the
before?
most American thing ever, with just a guy show up with a load of guns and just blow this guy away. I was just like,
I kind of love that. I'm like,
actually,
I always
that's
think
pretty-
that. I'm like,
that's
just like,
actually
what
kinda
if someone just did
Yeah.
that? And
Or
what
like
if they did-
Toji in JuJustu Kaisen, just like all this like crazy person just shoots
shot
her in the head. You're like, oh yeah, that'll do it.
yeah, it's growing on me.
Okay, so you're going to keep up with Fate.
I'll dip in, I think, but I don't think it's good as was it Fate Stay
Fate Stay Night.
I think
Fate Zero.
that was-
Fate
Fate Zero.
Zero.
Fate Zero is the one.
still the best, but you've still got like Gilgamesh and stuff. You've still got some really cool.
I'm a sucker for Gilgamesh, dude.
one of
every
the
time.
champions is a dog.
Fuck
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I'm
You should have
sold.
led with that.
Why
dude.
didn't you tell us
what
that?
the hell?
Needed a hook. I saw it was struggling there. I was like, I'll keep the dog in the back pocket. But I think it's not production IG, it's studio IG.
Production
IG
Yeah.
does it. That
They're still doing it.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and they started slow, but they're kind of firing all cylinders
UFO
and that.
Table's also done a bunch of them as well.
Yeah.
Like, UFO Table did the
it's
big
Fate
ones.
Zero.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it's not as good as Fate Zero, but
that's crazy.
it is ticking again that little nostalgia box of
What's a dog hero? Is it like
we don't know
Spot?
yet. I don't know what it is.
Or like Hachiko?
Snoopy's
It's Airbud.
throwing basketballs
Love
at people.
that.
Yeah.
That would be the
It's a whole
greatest.
slam dunk tie-in.
It's a slam dunk tie.
I would absolutely love that.
That would actually be the best. You've pulled, because basically, for those of you who don't know Fate, Holy Grail War happens every now and then. These sorcerers have to like try and pull their resources to get a hero to come and represent them, and they're all historical characters.
Yeah.
And like, it's like King Arthur and
McGruff the
Lancelot
crime dog.
and, Alexander the Great, but it's Airbud.
Yeah, but yeah. Look, it's not going to change your life, but it's fun, and
Yeah.
set pieces are really nice. But
Okay.
yeah.
Well, while we're talking about dogs, let's talk about a cat.
Oh, did you watch? Oh, never mind. I'll let
Have
you go.
I
Yeah.
have I watched?
Oh yeah.
This show is called, and again, if we're going to talk about only anime and to do with vending machines, we're back to only anime, people. The Masterful Cat is depressed again today. Written and illustrated by Hitsuji Yamada, adapted by Gohans, a production company I have never heard of. They've made
I think this is their. No, it's not their.
No, they made
first
something
thing,
called
but they're pretty
K.
new.
and K, Return of Kings. There were two of them.
Gigot described their animation style as like sparkly vomit explosions or
That's
something like that.
pretty good. It's
Like,
pretty good at, and there's something else called The Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses.
That's airing this season.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the one with the short-sighted girl and
Yeah.
gets a yeah.
I don't really know much about Gohans, but K looked pretty crazy when I looked it up. It was like some kind of really weird,
Yeah.
like
They go
fantasy
hard
show.
and sometimes they go a bit too far is what I've heard.
Yeah, but anyway, this one they actually do a pretty good job of animating. So, a young employee of a seemingly large corporation lives alone with her cat, Yukichi, who is simply massive and has a penchant for housework. He's super intelligent and attends to his owner diligently after she rescued him as a kitten from freezing in the snow. It turns out he does all the housework and cooks her exquisite meals to take to work with her. And Saku, which is the girl's name, is a bit of a hopeless case. So her new feline friend is incredibly helpful and the pair navigate life together. This is the greatest show ever made. Okay. It is basically the way of the house husband with a giant cat.
Perfect. No notes. Moving on.
Literally noteless. I'm like, hit me with it. But of course, it's an allegory for the husband and of course the intimacy one can find with a cat, especially living in a very small space. Of course, it still has those, a bit like Zom 100, which we sort of glossed over a little bit, but like, again, a huge statement on Japanese work culture and the concept of karoshi, which is working yourself to death. And Japan has notoriously intense work culture. This touches on that a lot. She works insanely hard. And literally the only reason she can get through it is because her cat makes her the most ridiculous meals you've ever had. And everyone's like, wow, you're such an amazing cook. She literally can't cook a fucking thing. But this like rad cat, this giant ass Yukichi, just makes the most exquisite meals, just cleans the house incessantly, goes shopping at the konbini, and everyone's like obsessed with him. And other people are like, why is that dude wearing a cat suit? And he can't speak. So he's not as if he's having conversations and stuff. Like he sleeps on her bed. It's this like literally bear-sized cat.
Yeah, I got one of them.
You do have a giant.
The only thing he makes is biscuits. Little bastard.
The show is great. It's so weird. But like, I think it's great. It's actually just a really good allegory of like modern Japanese life and how one can form a bond with a cat beautifully. Of course, we'd all love our cats not to be little assholes and cook us meals instead of like vomiting on us and, scratching us at 3 a.m. That'd be nice. But it's just really cool. And like everyone's like, why aren't you married? And you shouldn't have a cat. Like, a single lady with a cat, you're never going to get a husband like that. So it's this sort of lots of statements about gender roles in Japan. And it's actually really fucking cool.
Is this the most groundbreaking anime?
It's actually
ever?
sick.
After the vending machine one? I don't
After
know.
the vending machine.
no.
It's crazy, but it's actually really, really good. And the cat's also like, he is depressed because he sees her as like he's like, you are so, she loves drinking.
So she
lives for
judged
like
by the
just
cat as well?
all the time.
Oh,
she like
no.
crawls home getting lit after work after a Friday, like working like, fucking 18 hours a day and stuff, and like he'll send her a message like
What?
she'll get a phone call from the cat like when she's like way too late home from still working, and it's just him like breathing into the phone like how angry like
Jesus.
she's like where I just like she like gets through work so fast because he's cooked her this exquisite meal, and it was like it's just fucking great, man. It's so like left of center.
It's the most anime thing
It's
I've
the most
ever heard.
anime thing ever. But anyway, the Masterful cat is depressed again today. Is outstanding. I'm so into it. I think it's fucking great.
Yeah. Well, so I'll watch that and then just judge my cat,
I know.
who is judging me at the same time.
Everyone pales in comparison to Yukichi. He's the best cat ever. But anyway, anything else anyone watching? Or
Honestly, this season I haven't been as I mean, last season I was watching a lot of
You
seasonal
were.
anime and I was really, really happy with it. But this season I'm kind of not as into this lot as I was last. I mean, I'm watching JuJustu Kaisen, obviously. That's great. I will watch Zom 100 once I get some time to watch the whole thing. I'm going to catch up with that. My Marriage Story and maybe Vending Machine. But I guess I kind of haven't had like, there's no Skip and Loafer. There's no, Yamada-kun that have like got me on that level. But My Happy Marriage is a good place to start. So it's been good. It's not been a bad season, but I think we're just like gearing up for pretty heavy hitters next season, right?
Falls to me a big season. Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you didn't listen to a word I said about the Masterful cat.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
today. I gave you a fucking home run.
I got.
Look, yeah, I'm actually really enjoying this season. Like, I think there's actually a lot there. Things that are a bit more left of center. Got the big hitters, obviously Bleach, JuJustu Kaisen, of course, Zom 100's up there a lot. But yeah, a few interesting things like My Marriage Story, of course. Happy Marriage, whatever it is, sorry.
My marriage story.
Fucking hell, just getting butchered that one.
I know. I'm thinking
My
that
Happy Marriage.
All I can think of is fucking Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson screaming each other.
Yeah.
That meme.
In anime.
Which is like, oh yeah, it's good.
There's also something called Dead Girl.
Oh, actually, yes, I have this up.
Yeah.
I want.
Skull Eye Girl.
Yeah.
No, this one's called Undead Girl Murder Farce.
Yes, thank you. That's what
Which
I was talking about.
is
Everyone's talking
a-
about it a lot. I haven't watched it.
I really want to watch this, and I will give it a go. But I'm
the
not sure
roundup?
it's going to be for me. But I love the style of how it looks. I watched a trailer and I went, what's came? But I'll give you the synopsis. In 19th century France, the wife of a vampire noble, Jean de Chez Godard, is murdered in her own home. With the local human authorities unwilling to properly investigate the case, Godard hires a pair of private detectives known to specialize in the supernatural, Sugara Shinichi, a man with a mysterious birdcage, and his partner, Aya Rideau. This enigmatic duo have come from faraway Japan for one purpose: to track down the man who stole both Aya's body and Sugara's humanity. So her head is in a birdcage. He's carrying a birdcage. It's got this girl's head in it.
This one. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So that's the visual for it. It looks very kind of like gothic, like all that kind of older century Victorian style. It's the same creators that did Monogatari series. So it's got that where Monogatari is like, it's not for me, but the styling of it is beautiful,
Yeah,
and
it looks great.
the way that they pace things and the kind of the symbolism within it. It seems to be heavy on it in this, and people are really, really enjoying it. So I will give it a watch. This is one of Anime Feminists, which is a publication I talk about all the time. Please check it out. It's great, particularly if you're wanting to like see things and get people to give you warnings about content, and just like if you want to find something that actually suits your own needs or talks about particular things that you want to be invested in. It's a really, really good resource.
They're very intelligent.
They have this on as their number one pick, I'm pretty certain, for this season. So they love it. And I need to give it a go because I always trust their opinions. So it should be good to check it out. But like, it looks cool. I'm not sure it will be for me though, but I'll give it a go.
Well, there you go. That is our mid-season check-in for summer 2023. As always, thank you so much for listening. Let us know what you're watching. Again, we take these recommendations on board. Send us in anything that you're watching, or have a chat with us in our Instagram messages. We love talking about it. Also YouTube comments, anything you want. We'll be interacting with y'all. We just find it so cool. Like, so many things we miss all the time. And again, if there is something we missed, let us know. Now, of course, if you like the podcast, you can find us on our social media platforms, which are, of course, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Also, you can find us at gatewaytoanime.com. If you really like what we're doing, you can check us out on Patreon. We're just a small little operation. I mean, obviously, lucky to have a studio like this, but that's simply because I work here. And but I got to work here because of this podcast that we started. So it's an exciting time, but at the same time, small operation. Any help you can give us really, really does help, because it's hard to make content. You can hit us up on patreon.com/gatewaytoanime. And otherwise, hit us up wherever. Let us know what you're watching. And it's been a pleasure chatting to you guys as always. Good season, interesting season, kind of a mixed bag, which I kind of like.
No, it's good.
It's cool. Graham, Charlie, thank you so much.
Hey.
We'll catch you all next time.
Thanks.